Bloomberg Crypto on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Calvin Williams already chiming in over there, also dropping some of those likes and react. Calvin Williams and Flaco Jimenez, though, I'm sure more people will be wanting to. Again, it's a good way. You don't have to do the likes, reacts, any of that things. We appreciate it. But if you want to chime in, that's the major reason we bring it up there, because getting your 2 cents in there throughout the program, that's one of the better ways to do it. We will, of course, have our phone lines open a little bit later in the program, as we often do. But we got a lot to get to here today. I don't feel like I haven't said that there's not a lot at any time recently, and I don't expect it to happen anytime soon in any case, because just to name a couple of things happening, Supreme Court ending its session, even as there was that very hotly anticipated decision overturning Roe v. Wade. Well, the hits keep coming with the end of the session, now with a major decision on affecting immigration policy, specifically the removal of the Migrant Protection Protocols, MPP, also so-called Remain in Mexico policy, or a lack thereof. More specifically, I guess I should say, it can now be removed by the Biden administration with a 5-4 decision out of the Supreme Court today. So yes, immigration policy very much back in the spotlight, even as the debate continues to rage over the response to the situation that happened in San Antonio with 53 last check I saw, but it's entirely possible may have gone up by now after a botched smuggling attempt left, again, dozens dead here in Texas. So that very much back in focus here. Also some interesting conversations from El Paso lawmakers, as there was actually an interesting event that happened a little bit earlier this week in town. And yeah, politics also in focus. $20 million in ad buys by Governor Greg Abbott in the race against Beto O'Rourke. And I can think that this is just essentially going to be the opening salvo and what is going to be a very interesting, in the way I mean interesting, campaign season ahead. But also, we've had more than a little bit conversation about laws, legality, things that may or may not be on the balance a good idea for you to involve yourself in. So we'll be getting into that, some commentary, and exact explanations of why driving off at the pump is a really dumb idea. And do not follow that person for more gas-saving attempts. We get into that with Justin B. Underwood of Wyatt Underwood Trial Lawyers, so stay tuned for that as well. We just got a whole lot going on. Again, comments coming in from the social media. Calvin Williams further saying, Biden administration knew those coming across the border can't vote legally, don't they? I mean, the question about what happens now with policy is one of the more overriding ones, but this, of course, is not even anywhere near the end of it. So for those unfamiliar, of course, the Supreme Court decision with the Roe v. Wade has been getting much attention, but it wasn't going to be the end. I had that sneaking suspicion we talked about that may have been the last one they were going to release, but that definitely turned out not to be the case. And a lot of response already coming out here from Texas. So specifically when we're talking about the case Biden versus Texas, some recognizable names there, right? And essentially the Supreme Court, the question was, could the Biden administration end the policy, again, Migrant Protection Protocols, MPP for short, or also often called the Remain in Mexico policy? Not its official name, but you wouldn't be blamed for thinking that it was, how often it got called such. And there was the contention, it had shadings of previous such immigration policy debates and executive policies and the change between administrations and how they handle it, with such as the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA, and similar programs. You may remember that happening in that whole legal kerfuffle during the transition from the Biden to the Trump administration. So again, similar-ish kind of shades here, in that as the Biden administration taking over and saying that we are going to end this program, a whole 90 days hold right at the start of the term of office, those kind of things, and then suits coming out from Texas and other states, of course, saying, no, you have to leave this in place because of myriad of reasons, a lot of focused on the impacts to the states on the removal of this program, reaching all the way up to the Supreme Court. We have talked previously about how there were various injunctions, court orders. The last essential one was that it had to be reinstated until, well, this is the until. This was until the Supreme Court made its decision, again, voting 5-4, joining the less conservative justices, I guess you could say here. I mean, it's often talked about in the liberal and the conservative wing, but essentially I do believe it was, well, I'll need to double check on that, but 2 of the otherwise conservative bloc of the court joining on there, saying that essentially that this is within the purview of the Biden administration, as it is not a law, and directly relating to foreign policy issues, which do fall under the purview of the executive branch, among other things. More reasoning going there, but of course a lot of response coming up, particularly from Texas state officials. Attorney General Ken Paxton responding to it as well. But Governor Greg Abbott issuing this statement as of just before noon here today, saying, quote, the Supreme Court's decision upholding DHS's termination of the Remain in Mexico policy will only embolden the Biden administration's open border policies. More than 50 people recently died in a trailer, people who were allowed to cross our border illegally because of President Biden's policies. Reinstating and fully enforcing a Remain in Mexico would deter thousands more migrants from making that deadly trek, and President Biden should take that simple step to secure the border because it is the only humane thing to do, end quote. Again, directly from the statement out of there, and a lot of conversation and comments already coming up on here. Again, similar types of sentiment coming out from, again, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. A lot of statements coming out on this today. It's interesting specifically that Governor Abbott references that recent incident there, because at least some of the criticism, of course, has been on scanning policies and how that can be done, leading to at least partially his announcement yesterday that they're going to be doing more of these generally referenced enhanced screenings. What that is actually going to mean and what that might actually look like, additional checkpoints, it's still a little bit unclear at this exact point in time. But it's interesting that he mentions that, of course, I'm not surprised at any level that he is unhappy with the Biden administration, given the nature of the suit that led to this being decided in the Supreme Court and the very stated positions of the governor in a lot of ways. Again, during the actual primary process, you might not have been totally blamed for wondering if there was even any reference to any of the governor's own opponents, as opposed to primarily O'Rourke, of course, but the Biden administration almost seemed like it was a direct run against that. Some more of the things being mentioned here by, again, Attorney General Ken Paxton, mentioning that over a year ago, Texas and Missouri sued the Biden administration for illegally abandoning MPP, one in district court and then one again on appeal. The administration dragged its feet and refused to implement this effective program in good faith, allowing hundreds of thousands of illegals to pour over the border month after month. Today's decision makes the border crisis worse, but it's not the end. I'll keep pressing forward and focus on securing the border and keeping our community safe and the dozen other immigrant suits I'm litigating in court. That is a finer point here to be made, that this is not necessarily the total end. One of the things that this decision does is remands it to the lower court, essentially kicking it back to some, saying, you made this decision incorrectly. In light of our guidance, remake the decision. So there is not necessarily totally the death of MPP, but some reasoning has been very clearly established when it comes to the court and what they will or will not accept with this most recent decision. So pretty well articulated, I would say, a death knell for the entire program, or any types of maneuvering around it, more specifically, as again we have seen from the states, Paxton, Abbott, and etc. But that wouldn't close entirely the book on this chapter of continued litigation on immigration law between that states and the federal, at least in the immediate sense. So speaking about laws and the impacts that we may be having, we've been having some other conversations, while not as much on the Supreme Court, some of the protests going on around it, and some of the things that you may have seen on Facebook or other social media. Never take direct advice that you only see on social media without having it from a person you know doesn't enjoy your suffering, I guess would be a better way to put it. but also a lot more legal questions that have come up in just a lot of these situations. So to get us through the first break right now, we got a lot of comments coming in, including from John Browston, RJ, Calvin Williams, and more, dropping those likes and reacts as well, which we do appreciate. Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Calvin Williams, and Flaco Jimenez. Coming out of this break, we're going to be having that conversation with Justin B. Underwood with Wyatt Underwood trial attorneys. So if you want to check out what they're going to be saying there, stay tuned for more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. A lot more to get to, a lot we're going to squeeze in today, so stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. If you are looking forward to the end of the day, or even, shall we say, this holiday weekend, if you already got your barbecue plans going on, good for you. If you haven't thought about them already, you're welcome for the reminder. And as another reminder of what you can do to really take your cooking, your grilling, whatever you're going to be doing to the next level, there's not much that I would not consider the inclusion of in recipes I've got and a lot of other ways with our great selection of products from our friends over at Enhanced Flavors. With their extra virgin olive oils, balsamic vinegars, and flavored olive oils, there's a lot that you can do with some simple quality ingredients and then really helping to spice up your life. The El Paso Spicy Blend is the one that I recently gave as a gift, and I'm excited to try the next recipe that goes into, but they've got a whole lot more. Everything from the simple and tasty to the knock your socks off. Make your own decision. Find their selection, 40-plus varieties over on their website, enhancedflavors.com. Plus, often find them out in the community, farmers markets and such, most recently at the Country Club Farmers Market. But find all the details and place your order over at enhancedflavors.com. That's enhanced with a D, flavors.com. And don't forget to enter that code at checkout, EF Radio, for your 15% off. Again, EF Radio. Get 15% off your next order by going to enhancedflavors.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Checking El Paso traffic. A wide load is blocking two right lanes on Gateway South at Sean Haggerty. Stay to the left there. Police on the scene of a crash. I-10 eastbound at Paisano Drive. A disabled vehicle and some debris in the roadway. I-10 eastbound at Zaragoza. And a stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Joe Battle northbound at Pelicano Drive. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Discover. If you're a valued customer, you deserve a simple gesture of appreciation from your credit card company. And that's why Discover matches all of the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
You've heard the big news. Greta is back, and she's on Newsmax. Now, Greta is taking on Big Washington and Big Media at 6 p.m. Eastern every weeknight with her new show, The Record with Greta Van Susteren. Greta always gives you the real news. And she leads a big night on Newsmax with Rob Schmidt talking about Biden's economic train wreck. And then there's Eric Bolling exposing the woke agenda. More than 20 million Americans watch Newsmax. Millions are making the switch to Newsmax. It's on all major cable and streaming platforms. If your cable system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them. If they won't carry it, switch to a system that does. And download the free Newsmax app on your smartphone. Watch it anytime. Tune into Newsmax tonight for Greta Van Susteren, Rob Schmidt, Eric Bolling, and a lot more. Make the switch to Newsmax today.
When it comes to mixing drugs, you may think you have a safe approach, but the bottom line is, mixing drugs is never safe. It can cause serious health problems like a heart attack or brain damage. Learn more at cdc.gov/stop-overdose.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/trial. That's ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
Getting a news feed on your phone while driving
makes driving more difficult.
This is dangerous.
Getting a news feed without a computer or mobile device?
It would be impossible.
Unless, of course, you get your live news feeds at the top and bottom of the hour.
It's easy.
Traffic and weather all day.
It's as simple as that.
Trending stories tend to change.
Every minute of every day.
Twice an hour, we'll feed your curiosity.
Stay informed.
Shouldn't we listen?
They're hungry.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. A lot of stuff we're talking about here today, of course, but we've had some legal questions that have come up over recent days, weeks, months, ever. And so I wanted to check in with an expert on the subject here. So we're joined here in studio right now by Justin Underwood, partner with Wyatt Underwood Trial Lawyers. Thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much for having me, Andrew.
I'm very happy to have you because we've had you on previously to talk about some other very pressing legal issues, but this has been more of a things developing and things coming, kind of a aggregate critical mass, you might say, of a bunch of questions that people have either raised, been coming up on social media, etc., that definitely deserve a more qualified person than just me just saying this is dumb, because you can explain they're dumb and the exact reasons why.
Sure, I'll do my best to explain all that. Absolutely.
So there's been a post up here, and we'll share it up here on screen in just a second, of this idea of how to save on gas prices.
Right.
I'll just read it off here. There was a gentleman that posted it, but it's been shared around so many times and copied that the original poster has probably been lost. But essentially, diesel fuel, $5.85 a gallon in Texas. I filled my truck up. It took 32 gallons. That's a total of $187.20. I drove off without paying. My court date is July 19th, or I can pay an $85 fine online now. That's a grand savings of $102.20. Follow me for more money-saving tips. Now, sure, very funny and a bit of hyperbole about gas prices and, satire of the whole situation. But as unfortunately often happens with things posted online, someone will see that and think, oh, that's actually a good idea. I should actually do that. So in strict legal terms, why is this an awful idea?
Well, number one, as someone who drives a diesel truck myself, I can empathize with,
of course,
with the statement, because diesel is absolutely ridiculous. So is regular gas. But a couple things that we need to talk about here. Number one, any theft of any type that is more than $100, it's not a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a Class B misdemeanor if it's $101 up to $750, which means that is an arrestable offense. You don't get a ticket for that. So if you steal $187 worth of gas, you're going to get arrested. That's not a citation. The other thing, it is very funny. I laughed when I saw it too. When you sent it to me, I laughed to myself. I don't know too many gas stations where you can pull up and just pump gas and not either prepay or swipe a credit card. I don't know, maybe if it's a small town and they know you, they'll turn the pump on. But again, if it's a small town, they know you, right? They're going to be knocking on your door in 10, 15 minutes. So, to circle back, it's a terrible idea to do anything like this, because anything over $100 is a Class B misdemeanor. Anything over $750 up to $2,500 is going to be a Class A misdemeanor. These are arrestable offenses. These are not traffic citations. They're known as Class C misdemeanors. They're not tickets. Okay. This will get you arrested. You will have to bond out of jail, which will cost you money. You will have to hire a lawyer unless you want to represent yourself, which will end up costing you probably 20 times what you attempted to be funny and take from the gas station. Because a prosecutor, if you represent yourself, is going to treat you as such, right? You're not going to know any, if you're a first time offender, that you're not going to know any programs or any classes that you could ask for to get your case dropped, or, ultimately, that's what you want, is to get your case dropped, regardless of what it is that you're charged with. But in that instance, grand total of the savings of $100 or whatever he said, it's going to probably end up costing you $3,500 to $4,500 in that instance, if you were even able to steal the gas. So I would encourage you, please do not steal gas. Especially, my goodness, the tankers you see driving down the highway. You ever seen $1 million driving down the highway? If you look at the gas tankers, you're looking at $1 million driving down the highway these days. So yeah, with the current situation with gas and diesel being where they are, it's an extremely dumb idea. to attempt something like this. Also, if you were to if you were able to accomplish this, right, and dismissed, you want to have a theft conviction on your record for the rest of your life. Of all things for that employers, and we look at this stuff, I deal with this daily, right? We deal with criminal records and what do employers look at and stuff like that. Of all the things in the world that would be difficult for you to explain in the future on a job application or trying to get a position through a job interview. Yeah, I was stupid and I stole gas. Well, if you're going to steal gas like that,
red flags abound.
Absolutely. It is very funny. Don't get me wrong. It is very funny. Like I said, I laughed, but very illegal. And I will also tell you this. If you insisted, you'd have a right to have a jury trial on that. What if you said, well, I'll put it in the hands of a jury? Do you think members of our community are going to be nice to you when they find out that you stole something they're having to pay $5 a gallon for? Me, as someone who drives a diesel truck, I would not be nice to you. And I'm a criminal defense lawyer. So what does that tell you?
Also, I mean, just baked into this is the, I guess, lack of the idea that if you steal something, you don't get to keep it if you're caught with it.
Right. So what they'll do, number one is that part of anything that you work out with the court, you're going to have to pay for what you stole. So you're going to end up paying all of that stuff on the attorney's fees, the bond, the court costs, all the fees associated with it, which are a lot, trust me. But then they're going to make you pay restitution. So whatever.
$1 million gas carriers going down the highway, also a $1 million gas carriers going down the highway, also a bad plan.
That's you're going to prison for that type of deal. Yeah, for sure.
So
for sure.
All of these just super bad ideas. And again, if you're just
really bad idea.
Guess right now, Justin JBU Underwood, partner with Wyatt Underwood Trial Lawyers. You want to find out more about them, the work they do. WyattUnderwoodTrialLawyers.com is the website to find them. So I think we've seen a lot of creativity coming out of these situations of things to do. I feel like some people may feel like this is in the order of magnitude of, the ducks at the park are free. I have 500 ducks in my backyard, but slightly different implications here.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
Just one other thing on the road that I just encountering on our way to this recording here today, just personal gripe. When a light is blinking yellow at a light, that does not mean that you have to stop at it. It means that you proceed if clear. If it's a blinking red light, then it's effectively a stop sign.
Correct. Yellow does not mean stop.
No.
It does mean slow down. That's what it normally means when green turns to yellow. It means to slow down. So if you have a blinking light on one of our city's fair streets out here, it means slow down, being red, and you are safe to cross the intersection. But if it's not blinking red, it does not mean stop.
Yes. So just a gentle reminder to everyone out there. And
problems require real world solutions,
and so a little bit of real world knowledge
there
here, frankly. And just kind of related to that, I feel like more incidents of road rage out on the road here. I mean, frankly, ever since the advent of the pandemic, I had one of the first instances happen to me. I'm not exactly I've not been ticketed as a crazy driver anyway, I'll say that much legally, but I had someone do the whole, I guess he didn't like the way I passed him, and so he, slammed on the gas, got around me, and then started brake checking me.
Sure.
That kind of a thing. I mean, it feels like people have been a little bit more maybe fast and loose with on the road because some people weren't out there on the road as much, maybe some knowledge loss, but then also people just I don't think anyone's watching, so I'm going to do what the hell ever. Also, again, bad idea since we're on the topic of vehicles and driving here.
We get lots of cases per month,
really,
of road rage cases. We have probably, I would say, I would agree with you that the amount of cases that are happening like that here in El Paso, I think have increased significantly, probably since 2019 and 2020. 2020, obviously, everyone, the driving in El Paso but once everything started opening back up, also people are on edge these days. It's times are stressful. There's a lot of anxiety going around out there. Just remember the vehicle that you're in. This is something that people don't realize.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
The thing that you're driving in the eyes of the law is a deadly weapon. If you threaten someone with your vehicle, that is an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. That is a second-degree felony. The police department and the district attorney's office here in El Paso take those cases very, very seriously. So take a deep breath, turn up the radio, don't be on your phone, and think to yourself, do I really want to risk getting arrested for People irritate. Here's what I can tell you. I'll offer you some free advice. If somebody irritates you and they're driving and they look at you, just clap for them. Just clap for them, because number one, it makes you feel better, because it does make you kind of laugh that you're clapping for them, and it really makes them mad. So just keep that in mind. But also remember the vehicle that you're in. Absolutely, we see these cases for sure every month.
Wow.
A lot of times, if people are charged with evading with a vehicle and they swerve around a police car, you can be charged with aggravated assault, deadly weapon on a public servant. Jeez. Because you've put that officer in danger, that you were going to hit them. You've put them in fear that you were going to hit them. I mean, this is not everyday normal people, right? But these cases do happen. But you have to remember, when you are driving a vehicle, you are behind the wheel of something that the law considers a deadly weapon.
Because it's, in some cases, multi-ton, maybe like diesel we're talking about
Absolutely.
here. And yeah, if you don't think that could do some damage, I'm not sure what your definition of damage is at that point here. Again, joining us right now is Justin JBU Underwood, partner with Wyatt Underwood Trial Lawyers. Again, want to find out about them, their website, WyattUnderwoodTrialLawyers.com. That's WYATT UnderwoodTrialLawyers.com. We got to take that next break right now. So coming out of this break, continue talking about some more of those legal questions that have come up in short order here and more. So stay tuned for more on Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update. The man who's been at the center of controversy at El Paso City Hall recently is learning what the city's elected officials think of his performance. City Manager Tommy Gonzalez's latest job evaluation reveals he scored a 3.63 out of 4 as El Paso City Manager, exceeding expectations. Gonzalez met citywide goals such as promoting the visual image of El Paso and meeting the city's core values, which include integrity, respect, and accountability, among other criteria. The evaluation results shared yesterday should come as no surprise. As we previously reported, City Council overrode Mayor Oscar Leeser's veto when they vetoed to extend Gonzalez's contract by 5 years to 2029. Gonzalez says he's achieved a lot during his 7 years in El Paso, such as increasing pay for city workers and creating first-of-their-kind training programs. I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Checking El Paso traffic, a wide load is blocking 2 right lanes on Gateway South at Sean Haggerty. Stay to the left there. Police on the scene of a crash, I-10 eastbound at Paisano Drive. A disabled vehicle and some debris in the roadway, I-10 eastbound at Zaragoza. And a stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder, Joe Battle, northbound at Pelicano Drive. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. We continue to deal with a little bit of moisture, and that means some isolated storms in through the early evening. Overnight, we can expect partly cloudy skies and dry conditions as temperatures drop to the lower to mid-70s. Getting into our holiday weekend means we're looking at temperatures running a little closer to average in the mid-90s, with rain chances increasing every single day.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If your business is feeling a summer hiring wave, then you need Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
Dell's Black Friday and July sale is here with up to 45% off top-rated laptops and desktops for business with Intel Core processors. Plus, save on monitors and accessories, all with free shipping. Special financing available with Dell Business Credit. Upgrade today by calling 877-ASK-DELL.
This report is sponsored by Dell Technologies.
Stay tuned and stay informed with News Radio 690, KTSM, an iHeart radio station.
Children who grow up in poverty are part of a destructive cycle. At Child Fund International, we find this unacceptable. In 25 countries, we are vigorously fighting poverty and improving the lives of children and their families. Learn more at childfund.org.
News Radio 690, KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing live here on News Radio 690 KTSM in this pre-recorded interview. Still talking about a lot of things going on today, and we will be opening up those phone lines here a little bit later in the segment and the show as we do. But still, again, joining us here in studio, we do have Justin JBU Underwood, partner with Wyatt Underwood Trial Lawyers. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Absolutely happy to have you on because we have been talking about some of those burgeoning legal questions, both coming out of these semi-humorous and semi-stupid solutions to gasoline and diesel prices, but we also had some pretty serious ones come up here. I have often been saying that, well, with some of the protests going on, and I'm sure they will continue to ramp up, frankly, but that judges of any stripe, if essentially the name judge is in their title, that's doing particular kinds of, like, necessarily protesting outside the home or releasing of their information, threatening particularly, all fall on a varying degrees of spectrum of bad idea.
Absolutely. Anytime you threaten any type of public official, it is a felony offense. Federally, if you threaten a federal judge, you're going to federal prison if they can prove it, right? So I'm going to operate on the assumption that they can prove these cases. If you were to threaten, a county judge or a state court judge or something like that, those are all felony offenses. I don't know any state in the country where, and granted, I'm licensed in Texas. I practice in Texas. We have an associate with our firm who's in New Mexico, and I can tell you, my knowledge is that any state in the country, if you threaten a judge, that is a felony offense, you will be arrested and prosecuted. And I will tell you one step further. If you think that our system is not fair, wait till you threaten a judge and the judge is the witness against you. Then you'll really find out how it's not fair.
Yeah, because
I do understand that. Number one, I 100% support people's right to protest.
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%. That's we don't have our country without that sort of thing. But what I will tell you is we are very passionate about the things that we believe in. We're very passionate about the things we love. And that's good. That's good for us for quality of life. But when you cross that line and you let your anger and you let your rage get the better of you, I'm not saying not to have anger, and I'm not saying not to have rage, because those are natural human emotions that I think can be healthy if they're channeled in the right way. They can push you to fight, legally. They can push you to get more involved with your community. They can do all kinds of things. But when you let them take control of you and you make a statement or you threaten somebody with violence or ill will, you are breaking the law. And so when that happens, that it's number one, it's not a good idea. It's a really, really bad idea. That at the moment you may think you're justified in saying something like that, but your right to free speech does not cover threats of violence against people. That is not protected speech under the United States Constitution. It's not. So when you are threatening violence against somebody, you're not protected, and you need to make sure that you keep your emotion in check so that you don't do something like that and subject yourself to big trouble, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. And it even goes not necessarily even just direct threats, but I've actually sat in on some of the Supreme Court cases in which they discuss things along the lines of fighting words, like you trying to incite someone else to violence in certain circumstances. If you're essentially, trying to say what you want them to throw a punch at you, those are considered fighting words and have their own repercussions to them.
And when I was in law school, one of the main things that, when we take the constitutional law class, that's one of the main things that you have to take a constitutional law class in every law school in the United States. Accredited. And the words that they use, because the Supreme Court used it, is incite violence. I'm not going to get into the logistics, but certain things that have happened here in our country recently, they've used the word incite violence. Did someone incite violence? And as you can tell, it has to be a very particular thing. But if you get a crowd, if you are giving a speech or something and you incite them to go and attack the police, or you incite them to go and commit a robbery, that speech is not protected. So just be aware that, and it doesn't always have to be on a grand stage. It doesn't have to be on, CNN or Fox News. It doesn't have to be wherever, right? It can be a local area where you're dealing with a local law enforcement presence who are going to interpret that as you incited violence with what you said. It doesn't even have to make the media. You can still be subjected to the consequences for choosing those types of words. Just be very careful not to let your emotions get the better of you when you're doing the things that you are legally protected to do.
I mean, among other things, that's how some of the prosecutions involving, mobs or riots ends up coming out of.
Correct.
There may not be any necessarily evidence that you threw a brick, threw a punch, did anything.
Correct.
But if it is in some way, provable that you are part of the reason that the response happened, either with the words, statements, actions, whatever. Again, that's how that literally occurs and that prosecution happens.
Right. And so in Texas, there's something called law of parties. We have something, and it literally is called the law of parties. What that means is if Andrew, you and I decide, hey, I'm gonna drive you down to 7-Eleven or Circle K, and you're going to go in and do a beer run. You're going to go in and steal an 18-pack of beer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we agree. I drove you down there. I never got out of the car, but you went in and you stole an 18-pack of beer, and you shot the clerk coming out. You've committed capital murder if you kill that person. Well, guess what? I didn't consent to that, but under Texas law, under the law of parties, since I agreed to the underlying offense, I'm just as guilty of capital murder as you are.
Very important things.
Keep that in mind.
Absolutely. There again, guest right now is Justin JBU Underwood, partner with Wyatt Underwood Trial Lawyers. Again, their website, if you want to find out what they do, WyattUnderwoodTrialLawyers.com. Also, their phone number, if you want to give them a call, 915-485-9100. So, yeah, that's pretty serious. But again, back on that idea of free speech and, freedom of expression, particularly because one particular issue has come up a little bit more starkly recently, and that is the idea of doxing.
Correct.
And so doxing, some people may not even be totally clear on it. So speaking legally, what does doxing encompass?
Doxing, what it typically means is you gather someone's personal information and you disseminate it into the public realm, right? So you get someone's identifying information, their driver's license number, their social security number, their address. Addresses are a little bit different because addresses can be public because you do pay taxes to, if somebody wants to find someone's address, you can look on a CAD and typically find that person's address. But we're talking about protected, social security number, bank accounts, information. Even in this day and age, your passwords, which Lord help us all, because we all have 900 passwords that I can't remember any day. Thank God they send those emails where we can reset them. But getting private information that you normally would not have access to, or that the public would not have access to, and disseminating it into the public realm, that is called doxing, and it is against the law in most states. In Texas, it falls under fraudulent use or possession of identifying information. If you do it with someone's bank account, you can be charged federally because the banks are federally insured. Anytime you deal with banking, you can be charged federally. Most of the time, you are charged by the state of Texas because they have all of those laws on the books to protect people. The spirit of those laws really are to protect people from identity theft. Identity theft is so massive. Think about if you had someone's social security number, what you could do.
Yeah, you can do a whole lot of mischief and more.
I have heard horror stories from clients that we've kind of helped with the credit bureaus who have had their homes refinanced. Their houses, like somebody took a second mortgage on their home. They had no idea, because when you're dealing with, third-party lenders or these entities online, they never meet you face to face. So if they get a copy of your driver's license and they have your social security number, think about what they can do. They can open all kinds of lines of credit. They can do a lot of damage to you, and that's all going to come back to you personally because it's linked to all of your personal information. The one thing that I will tell you on doxing cases that number one, you do have to prove that you were defrauded, right? Which is usually pretty easy because something bad happens, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that you have to prove on doxing cases is you have to prove identity. Most of these people who do this sort of activity or who are involved in this type of behavior, they try to obviously shroud their identity, keep their identity concealed. Okay. And so that's something that we have to deal with. You have to be able to identify the person. It's not as hard as you think these days because if you know how IP addresses work, IP addresses are specific to the device that you are on. So if you are on a device and that IP address, every device has an IP address, right? So if you're on that device or you're at that location using that IP address and they can show that you were on that device, then that's how we prove identity. It's very dangerous to do that type of thing. And if you are smart enough to do that, you should be smart enough to know that eventually you might get away with it a couple times, but eventually they're going to catch you. And the more that you do it, the more the hammer of justice will come down on you when it's time to face that music.
It's almost not quite the law of greed with crime here because, I mean, someone may be getting something out of it, but more, at least with doxing, I think some of the contribution to it is like the personal satisfaction, like, oh, I'll show them.
Right.
It gets into identity theft. That's one thing, but the phrase I often think of, it's not the first time you do the crime you get caught, it's the 10th time.
Correct. And one of the things, obviously, it has to be done with, it's called malice aforethought. They teach you this fancy legal word in law school, malice aforethought. What it really means is you did it with ill intent. You did it to hurt the person, right? You did it to defraud them. You did it to inflict emotional distress or pain on this person. And when you did that, you broke the law. And when you did that, you've subjected yourself to the consequences of breaking the law. And so it's not just, it's real easy to, with social media now, just I'm gonna blast this person. If it's the truth, if you're saying something bad about somebody and it's the truth is always a defense. But if you say something bad about someone with malice, now you're breaking the law. The other thing we haven't mentioned about, we talk about broken the law a lot.
Of course.
You also subject yourself to massive civil lawsuits. Just because law enforcement doesn't file a case against you, that does not relieve you of liability in a civil courtroom.
Exactly.
And keep in mind, in the civil world, the burden of proof is significantly. Andrew, you've covered tons of courthouse stuff. That's kind of how we met back in the day. In a criminal case, you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the highest burden in the land.
Right.
In a civil suit, if you prove 51%, if you just tip the scale, you win the case.
Preponderance of the evidence.
So that's where we're at. So, you tip the scale with preponderance of the evidence, you win that case. And in a civil case like that, if you can prove damage, I mean, we're talking punitive damage, we're talking, actual damages, emotional damages. Those are the types of things where the person who did this is not going to have it will bankrupt them and put them in a hole for the rest of their life.
So, in sum total, a lot of the illegal issues we've talked about today, bad ideas.
Bad ideas. I would agree with that. Bad ideas.
And varying degrees therein here. So we've covered a lot of area. Again, guest right now has been Justin JBU Underwood, partner with Wyatt Underwood Trial Lawyers. Again, if you want to find out anything more about them, the work they do, WyattUnderwoodTrialLawyers.com. That's WYATT UnderwoodTrialLawyers.com, or give them a call at 915-485-9100. So Justin, thank you very much for taking the time to come in today, talk to us a little about some of these legal issues and the things people may not have totally known since they're probably not a lawyer and haven't dealt with these areas of laws and why they are particularly bad ideas.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, Andrew. If you guys have any questions, please reach out. We're always here to help our fellow El Pasoans.
Absolutely. So we're going to take that next break right now and go ahead and open up the phone line. So if you want to call in, that number to do so here, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We'll be back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Joe Battle Boulevard, northbound at Pelicano. Move over for a stalled truck that's blocking the right shoulder. I-10 eastbound downtown towards the downtown area at Chelsea Street. A stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Montana Avenue just east of the 54 Gateway. An injury accident at Marr. And a crash with injuries downtown Stanton, north of San Antonio at Nevada. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Dell Technologies.
Get inspired during Dell's Black Friday and July sale with up to $500 off select computers like XPS laptops and Alienware systems with Intel Core processors. Plus, get great financing with a Dell Preferred account and free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL.
New on Curiosity Street.
This is very different. Dinosaurs living in sub-freezing temperatures.
A groundbreaking expedition reveals Antarctica's vibrant prehistoric past on dinosaurs of the frozen continent. And as Napoleon's enemies surged, one failed negotiation with Austria led to his eventual downfall. Relive the diplomatic showdown that turned the tide on Napoleon, the beginning of the end. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. Less than 1% of water on Earth is drinkable, and humans are using it faster than nature can replenish it. Reduce the amount of water you use in the bathroom by taking shorter showers and turning the water off while you brush your teeth. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Are you getting letters from the IRS? Did you know that the IRS can take your house and empty your bank accounts without even notifying you? VersiTax can protect you from all of this. VersiTax client Catherine Valdez.
Using VersiTax, I saved over $33,000.
Call VersiTax and discover all the latest relief programs you qualify for in the first free call.
IRS, getting it off my back was definitely a stress relief. I could sleep good at night, no more IRS letters, clean slate. I'm actually getting refunds back. It's amazing.
Call VersiTax for free tax relief information. The call is free. The information is free.
Customer service was amazing, and I would definitely advise anyone to go with VersiTax.
Call 800-202-7709. That's 800-202-7709 for your free tax relief information call. 800-202-7709. 800-202-7709.
Overcoming drug addiction was difficult, but I found the path to recovery that worked for me. The road to recovery is different for everyone. Find the path that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
If you're a valued customer, you deserve a simple gesture of appreciation from your credit card company. And that's why Discover matches all of the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media outlets we're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Thanks again to our guest from last segment, Justin JBU Underwood of Wyatt Underwood Trial Lawyers. A lot of interesting questions out there, and I'm sure that more will accumulate over time because there's a lot of very good reasons to not do certain actions, but having explained to you sometimes just hits different. And a lot of comments coming in here on a lot of these issues here. Calvin Williams saying a little bit earlier, the stop signs with a white border are optional. I'm just going to go and make that very clear that is incorrect. And if you're going to come, it hits a lot like fringe on the flag means it's not a court that it works over me. John Browson with another questionable bit of advice: waive your open carry weapon if you are having an issue with bad drivers here. But RJ putting it pretty succinctly, flashing cherries and blueberries not my favorite fruit in the rear view. And Kevin Williams also pointing out, see, totally all good advice coming from all of this. Yeah, that seems sometimes like stop signs are a bit of a suggestion. And there are also some other ideas about certain elected or unelected or, funded individuals out there and what they may or may not be subject to. I'll often agree with the idea that if something is punishable only by fine, that means it's legal for rich people, essentially. And one other question saying that Andrew's favorite color is red. Is that doxing? No, that could be considered if it was malicious enough, I guess, based on what Justin was saying there. Libel, since it's technically in print here, but truth often sets issues like that free. So a lot of different and no, Calvin, and he stops. Tell you what, test that assumption at your own convenience on what may or may not be an enforceable stop sign, and do not quote me to any cop that you have to explain it to. So, yeah, some good advice there, good reasons to keep correct things in mind. And, yeah, don't drive off from a gas pump or think you're going to get away from it. Sure, I've seen it out there, but it's right up there with the advice of, hey, everyone who's not from up north areas, if you're worried about your windshield icing over, just put some Brillo pads under the washers, make sure it'll stay nice and clean. To make that perfectly clear, don't do that. And why taking your advice only from random posts you see online is absolutely a bad idea. We're going to come up on the need for that next break of the hour right now, getting to the top of the hour, but we do have that phone line open. If I neglected to mention it, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. So we've had a little bit of fun with that segment. We definitely have a lot of important stuff to continue discussing, more on the immigration sections here. Again, good luck with those assumptions on mentioning the station here. Very much luck to you. But more on the immigration situation, more on some of the conversations going on from, area lawmakers, as the Texas Tribune was in town this week, having something in depth with them. And then at least one mention about the issues surrounding education in our area. A lot of movement happening kind of in the background that could have a sum total interesting impact as we look towards the next school year and beyond at the very least. So that's going to, again, take us through the break at the top of the hour here. If you want to get on the line, more than welcome to do so. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. A lot to talk about, a lot to discuss, and we'll get to as much of it as we can after the top of the hour news. So stay tuned to Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Back in a minute.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
El Paso traffic looking pretty good. No major delays or collisions right now. Reports of an accident, though. I-10 eastbound at Paisano. I-10 eastbound at the Loop. A disabled truck is blocking the right shoulder. An injury accident with police on the scene. Alameda Avenue westbound at Paisano Drive. Take Valverde or Glenwood instead. And a disabled vehicle, I-10 eastbound at Chelsea. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're speaking another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
3 weeks. It's incredible. After 3 weeks, I'm on vacation in Paris, having a conversation in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
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 Babbel. Évidemment.
Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
We parents hear our kids say lots of things that can get us pretty worked up. Things like,
"Look, Mom, no hands."
And,
"Ouch, that hurts."
look, you'll never completely stop worrying about your kids. But you can breathe a little easier with free or low-cost health insurance through Medicaid and CHIP programs in your state. The truth is, they're covering more kids and teens than ever before. So even if you've applied in the past, even if you don't qualify, your kids can now be eligible for regular doctor and dentist visits, prescriptions, and more. So the next time you hear,
"Ooh, I don't feel so good,"
relax. Your kids can be covered.
Get us kids covered today. Families of 4 earning up to $49,200 a year or more may qualify. Just go to insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. That's 1-877-543-7669. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
And the
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The Senate Republican leader is blasting President Biden for attacking the Supreme Court during his European trip. Biden says it made a mistake overturning Roe v. Wade.
One thing that has been destabilizing is the outrageous behavior of the Supreme Court of the United States in overruling not only Roe v. Wade, but essentially challenging the right to privacy.
Kentucky's Mitch McConnell released a statement saying attacking a core American institution like the Supreme Court from the world stage is below the dignity of the president. Federal prosecutors are identifying the 4 men suspected in the deaths of 53 illegal immigrants in South Texas. Homero Zamorando Jr. and Christian Martinez both could get the death penalty if they're convicted of charges connected to Monday's deaths in San Antonio. Zamorando is believed to be the driver of the abandoned tractor trailer where the bodies were found. The co-chair of the January 6th House Committee is absolutely confident about the credibility of Cassidy Hutchinson, who delivered explosive testimony this week. Lisa Taylor reports.
Hutchinson is a former senior aide to Mark Meadows, former President Trump's last chief of staff. Wyoming Republican Liz Cheney told ABC News she's absolutely confident about Hutchinson's credibility. Cheney also said Hutchinson is an example of bravery, courage, and patriotism in the face of real pressure. Trump and some Republican allies have tried to discredit Hutchinson's testimony.
Lisa Taylor reporting. Delaware's governor is signing a package of 6 gun safety bills. They include bans on the sale of assault weapons and devices that convert handguns into fully automatic firearms, along with stronger background checks. Multiple sources are reporting UCLA and USC are leaving the Pac-12 for the Big Ten. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. It's a loss for some New York healthcare workers fighting against the state's COVID vaccine mandate. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled it won't take up the lawsuit brought by the group of workers arguing against the mandate based on religious beliefs. There was a previous court ruling involving the state of Maine with the same outcome. Clergymen in Savannah, Georgia are calling for the city's police chief to resign after an officer shot and killed a black man. Scott Kimbler reports.
According to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, 31-year-old Saudi Ray Lee showed officers his concealed weapons permit and his holstered handgun last Friday. At some point, and for reasons that are unclear, a chase ensued and an officer shot Lee. This week, church leaders questioned officers' training, and people who live in the historic Carver Village neighborhood where the shooting happened said excessive policing probably led to the shooting. Carver Village was created in 1948 to provide affordable housing for African Americans.
Talks are continuing in an effort to avoid a strike at some of Atlantic City's casinos. Jennifer Pulsoni has more.
The union representing casino workers in Atlantic City calling for significant raises. They've already authorized a strike just after midnight Friday if a deal can't be reached for Caesars, Harrah's, Tropicana, and the Borgata. The union also authorizing a strike for early Sunday for the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. City council members locally have called on casinos to hike worker wages to avert a strike before this busy July 4th weekend.
The creators of Stranger Things are launching an online class that teaches folks how to create a TV show. The Duffer brothers, Matt and Ross, launched the class on the online learning platform Masterclass. It consists of 18 video lessons, resulting in over 5 hours of instruction. The class requires a membership to Masterclass. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Money. That's money. Enter it now.
Make this the year you go to our iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com.
iHeartRadio, let's go! A weekend full of superstar performances, never seen before collaborations, and once-in-a-lifetime moments you'll have to see to believe.
Friday, September 23rd and Saturday, the 24th at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas.
Our 2022 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Buy your tickets now at AXS.com.
This report is sponsored by Discover. If you're a valued customer, you deserve a simple gesture of appreciation from your credit card company. And that's why Discover matches all of the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
Do yourself a favor. Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa is the grooming experience every man deserves, where the arts of traditional barbering and modern spa services meets your favorite watering hole. Sit back, relax, and get groomed, and enjoy a complimentary cigar, cocktail, coffee, or cold one in our private patio lounge. This is the barbershop your current barber should be worried about. Oh, and no membership required to be treated like a king for a day. More details online at gentsrepublic.com.
Most of the time, traffic is pretty good. But there are times when traffic can be pretty bad. No, I mean like really bad. Almost, but more like an asteroid's gonna hit the city and everyone's trying to get out of town at once and nobody's car is moving and people are running down the highway clutching their kids and whatever belongings they can grab. Yep, now you got it. It's times like these you need your severe traffic station. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming on the free and reliable iHeartRadio app. We can also leave those talkback messages, as well as over on our various social media sites, more commenting over there, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We got a lot of comments going on here today. Skeptic Squad, yeah, definitely out, and a lot of skepticism or questions. I think some of it is sincere. Absolutely, RJ asking with those legal questions we had last hour. Let me know when you're having a class on getting away with it and whatever it is. Good luck with that. I would be very careful of anyone offering such a class. I would heavily drop the question about what exactly is entrapment a lot in such a class here, but a lot more comments going on here. If you want to chime in yourself, more than welcome to. And Ian Grimm with one specific question on doxing. So why aren't senators held responsible for when they threaten Supreme Court justices or dox them at their homes or schools? Someone think else brought up a two-tier justice system. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of that in that case, but I think specifically in this case, if you're talking about things that you can reasonably find yourself, and you can find a lot of information with a bit of digging. It's amazing what particularly a central appraisal district records have sometimes, or even, public filing. So it's really a question of, as we got into, what was the intent and what exactly is being done. I know there has been some purported leaking of, say, credit card information, which is just super dumb in a whole lot of ways. Like, I'm not even saying that you'll be immediately caught for it, but once you start making more notice of yourself and doing whatever the hell it is you're doing, you're going to have a bad time, really. And yeah, a lot of commentary coming in here, RJ among others here. Also dropping those likes and reacts, which we do appreciate. Ed Clore, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Calvin Williams, and Flaco Jimenez. While we're talking about here today, again, a lot of feedback and reaction coming on some of those things involving the last bit of Supreme Court decisions. Yes, there was more to come. No, that one overturning Roe v. Wade was not the last gasp, but there's a whole lot more. And even just here within Texas, actually, going on today, that a police chase in South Texas involving an SUV full of illegal immigrants ended with 4 people dead. And yeah, happening in, again, South Texas, Encinal is the dateline given for the story into our newsroom here today. A small Jeep slammed to the back of an 18-wheeler, which was parked at a truck stop in that same town, and 2 others in that vehicle in critical condition, saying police in the area saying the chase started in Laredo, which is, of course, on the border with Mexico, and in the aftermath, what happened in San Antonio, with that case still under investigation. And I'm not saying I don't want the book thrown at those people. I'm saying what's more on the order of like the whole damn book case. So immigration policy and responses therein very much in focus today, as again the Supreme Court in one of its last decisions of this term of office, ruling in favor of the Biden administration's position on essentially ending of the migrant protection protocols, MPP, so-called Remain in Mexico policy. Though there was an interesting comment from a little bit earlier when we were talking about that. RJ with a point to be made. Remain in Mexico hasn't been working well under Biden, so removing it makes a difference. How? An interesting question to be made. I think a lot of the concern, particularly from elected officials here in Texas at the state level anyway, concerned about what will then come out next from the administration. Among other things, I think this makes it more likely that Title 42, which has been ever so slightly backburnered on its own right, seems more likely to be going into review, though I guess there might be some questions about the foreign policy implications or lack thereof. So we'll see. And yeah, that's why I fully believe that, sure, this is some movement in the area of immigration policy and law and decisions that can be made. This is by no means the end of that chapter or what can even be, well, written in that book. So a lot more coming on that, but some interesting commentary actually coming out this past week from some of our state legislators, including a conversation going on with the Texas Tribune, holding it with State Reps Joe Moody and Claudio Ordaz Perez and State Senator Cesar Blanco on a whole lot of things, but we'll get into that a bit more. Let's get back to those phone lines right now because we, of course, have that line open as well. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Stephen on the east side here with us right now. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon there. What's on your mind?
I was just thinking, this is maybe anecdotal, but when I moved from one part of the country to El Paso, one of the things that I noticed about El Paso is historically we've had low crime rates. So I think at some point it was considered the safest city over 500,000 people in the country, pretty safe overall. But I don't know if it's anecdotal. Lately, I've been seeing lots of news stories about people getting shot and stabbed and all these different things. But again, that might be anecdotal. Are you aware of any hard statistics on violent crime increases? I know human trafficking, of course, is way up, but violent crime statistics, are you aware of anything?
I haven't seen a good correlation of such, but you're right that anecdotally, just even the stories that we've talked about, the serious incidents that have been rising to community level impacts. I mean, the school districts going on to lockdown, people being told to watch out for armed suspects on the run, that kind of thing certainly seems to a casual observer to maybe be happening more. There are some of the more nationwide statistics about an increase in violent crime coming out of essentially the pandemic lockdowns. Keep something cooped up long enough and yeah, bad things can happen. So, but getting hard actual facts in this area, some of the actual stats on it has been a little bit fleeting. I will agree with you on that, but you're not the only one. I will fully agree to have noticed that maybe something more is going on here, and I'm looking very closely at what is being measured and hoping that we can get some clearer ideas, because calling it, like, say, an overall, a totally and non-anecdotally increase in violence is difficult, but it definitely begs the question what we've been noticing.
Yeah, maybe it'd be something we could ask El Paso, police departments, or see if they have some kind of stats to see if it's not anecdotal and see if there's some hard numbers to look at. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, El Paso has, and many times, been noted as a safe city. Yeah, that's been at least a couple of years, though I don't think we're currently in that. Yeah, it's definitely something I and a lot of others, including listeners to the show, are concerned about. So you're certainly not alone in that concern.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there. Yeah, that would actually be a good. Flaco Jimenez bringing up that would be a job for Estefania. That would be a good one. And RJ talking about in some other areas, police are overwhelmed in some cities. I know that we've had at least one new police officer class come out recently, but yeah, it's hard to put your finger on without those very specific statistics. And most of the things that come out immediately, I mean, there's at least one coming up from in 2020, but where we are actually now is a little bit harder to tell. These often rely on end of year statistics or correlation from the previous year, so that's one of the reasons there's often a lag in this type of information, and why something I'll definitely be wanting to look at a little bit further. I mean, I put a lot of credit on the police and also the people of El Paso, because you don't end up getting a totally population acting the way we do here without there being some action on the part of the population. We don't exactly live in a police state here with everyone being watched all the time. It takes a lot of individual decisions to choose to react to certain situations and to make a community safe. So I still put a lot of credit there, but also a lot of credit, of course, to the police officers who have an incredibly unenviable job in a whole lot of ways, and the standards that it should be rightly held to as well. I mean, it's a lot of give and take. Those that we give power over us must be held accountable within the same level of measure. So that's a long way to say that, yeah, we got issues, but we'll keep talking about them, and we're going to take that next break right now. We'll get to more calls on the line coming out of this break as well. That number to dial is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. In all these stresses and things we talk about, and there's a lot of serious stuff out there, you still need to take care of yourself, whether that's going outside, having a good meal, or making sure that you feel good about the way you're looking and groomed. Well, let me give you a solution, at least for that last one, and that is, of course, the official hair and beard sponsor of the show, Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa. Their selection of services to keep you looking good, feeling good, and feeling good about your appearance. I mean, it may sound like a trivial thing in these days, but seriously, self-care is not just a buzzword. It's something you should consider for yourself, and they've got a lot of them. Again, I go there regularly to keep all of the hair on my head is what I trust them with, and if you want to find out for yourself, schedule your appointment by calling 915-532-3000. That's 915-532-3000, or find them online at gentsrepublic.com. That's GENTS Republic.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
El Paso traffic looking pretty good. No major delays or collisions right now. Reports of an accident, though. I-10 eastbound at Paisano. I-10 eastbound at the Loop. A disabled truck is blocking the right shoulder. An injury accident with police on the scene. Alameda Avenue westbound at Paisano Drive. Take Valverde or Glenwood instead. And a disabled vehicle, I-10 eastbound at Chelsea. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
While the world bickers over why prices are so high, you drift on over to your happy place. We've got your shot at $1,000 with Inflation Vacation. Listen every hour from 9 a.m. through 5 p.m. weekdays for your chance to win $1,000.
Bake for Your Tank is brought to you by the El Paso Zoo Society. Take a rock on the wild side. Rock and Roar Music Festival, July 2nd at the El Paso Zoo. 2 music stages, a silent disco, arcade games, and so much more. Get tickets at elpasozooSociety.org.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples is a one-stop shipping solution for small business with packing and shipping supplies and services. Right now, get 20% off UPS Express shipping services. Offer ends 7/2. Visit staplesconnect.com/services/shipping for details. If you need to ship, ship at Staples, the working and learning store.
They're here, circling over your head and are tracking you down. You feel overwhelmed, like you can't escape. You need a solution to get your back taxes filed, to put your life back on track. You need someone who can keep the vultures at bay and work directly with the IRS to leverage every opportunity to settle your debt. Edward Areola of United Financial Services is licensed to represent you before the IRS. Don't let the IRS threaten you. You should never need to speak to them directly. Edward does that for you. United Financial Services will help settle your entire IRS tax debt for up to 85% off the original amount owed, including penalties and interest if you qualify. United Financial Services, family owned in El Paso, can be a lifesaver for you. Call 915-500-3255, 915-500-3255, or go to UnitedFinancialEP.com. Call 915-500-3255 now.
Parents, do you want to get your perfect angel the perfect shoes? Then you need to get your kids Skechers, because Skechers has award-winning designs and fits your kids love. We've got the perfect shoes for boys, like Megacraft, that will make them the envy of the playground. And the perfect shoes for girls, like Flip Kicks, with sparkly sequins that flip so they can change colors and designs. And we've got Stretch Fit that stretch for a perfect fit. shoes that light up, shoes that sparkle, shoes that easily slip on and off, shoes with straps, and everything in between. And many of them are perfectly machine washable, so you can just toss them in the laundry and keep them looking great. Plus, many have Skechers exclusive air-cooled memory foam, so you know your kids' feet will be taken care of in perfect comfort. And best of all, they're perfectly priced, so you can give your kids what they want and give your budget a break. Perfect styles, perfectly durable, perfect price. Skechers are the best shoes made for the money. They're just perfect. Find Skechers Kids at a Skechers store near you, Skechers.com, or wherever kids' shoes are sold.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages that we're on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments coming in here, and just as there was a mention about Estefania, she really did appreciate and was posting about it online. All of the comments just directed to her that came in after having her on the show last week. So keep sending them along. We'll do the best we can with dealing with all of these things. So we got a lot of stuff we're talking about here today. One other thing I want to mention that's just been ever so gently put out there is that there's going to be more enforcement happening for the July 4th weekend. Of course, we're coming up on the holiday weekend, and just as a brief programming note, yes, we are going to be out of the office that day. Come on, we took Juneteenth. You think we're not going to take July 4th out of the office, or I was told anyway? So we're going to have some replacement programming on that day. But yeah, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office announcing, as of right now, actually, they will be increasing patrol enforcements to keep the roads safe on the 4th of July holiday weekend. Increased patrol presence in effect July 1st through the 4th. So come correct and remember all those legal things about driving we were talking about there. Let's go back to those phone lines right now. Again, that number to call, full up at the moment, but if you want to squeeze in, 915-544-5876-544-KTSM. We do have Guadalupe Hinao on the line here with us right now. Guadalupe, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to give your listeners a couple of follow-up information here. I mentioned during my last call about uncompensated we'll call it charity care provided by UMC. And I did find an article from KFOX in April where Cintron mentions that UMC reported $556 million in uncompensated care. That means that these are people that did not have insurance or means to pay for treatment. But my question, and what he didn't mention, was how many of those that were treated, what percentage were illegal immigrants? And the reason I'm bringing that up is if you heard about the Supreme Court decision today, Biden could very quickly, or he could decide to wait for the lower courts to rule. He could remove that, remain in Mexico. So now you have thousands of illegal immigrants again coming across the border, possibly seeking health care, and how much of our taxpayer money is being used to pay for that. So what I would do if I were the county judge is I would be asking those questions. You know, we're asking the voters to, or they're not even asking the voters, we're going to approve $400 million in additional tax money. Then, you know, let's find out who it's going to. Let's make sure it's going to treat county residents and not illegal immigrants, because that should be paid for by the federal government.
Yeah, as we talked with Estefania yesterday, actually, about the Estefania Cipher investigative reporter with our news partners over there at KFOX 14. Yeah, her uncompensated care reporting on some of that was pretty important, and I'm sure those questions, even as we get further into this potential debate on that UMC expansion, and of course, as you mentioned there, in light of some of these recent legal and downstream policy changes, going to be even more important to make sure we know exactly what we're talking about here.
And all we're asking for is, as taxpayers, for transparency. Tell us where our taxpayer money is going. And if you don't know where it's going, then how do you make good decisions?
Yeah, wanting basic information, I've long been in very favor of put all the information out there, give context when necessary if it's a complicated or unintuitive situation. But transparency, or to put it another way from an organization I like, sunlight is a great disinfectant. So making sure that things are out there, known and knowable, very important for a functioning society, among other things.
Absolutely. And if you want the taxpayers to trust the way you're spending our money,
Mhm.
then what better way than to put all that information out there? Because all we're being told is, hey, we need 400 million. And by the way, those facilities they're wanting money for are for robotics, burn units, a cancer unit. That sounds to me like they're competing for insurance dollars and with private hospitals. And that is not the purpose of UMC.
The cancer, I'll agree with you on. Burn units, it's still, I've known people who have had to fly out of town for that kind of a thing. So there's arguments to be made, but also knowing the basic details is a very important part to be able to have that debate about what needs to be done.
Exactly.
All right. Well, appreciate the point in the call. And as a reminder, you're going to be on the ballot with your submission coming up for November for the county judge seat, correct?
Correct, as an independent candidate for El Paso County Judge, and I will be on the ballot with the current county judge. There will just be the two of us.
Yep. So important things to remind there. So thank you very much for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you very much there. Let's get to another call on the line here. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Flucky Menace with a call there. Who funds the federal government? I mean, the simple answer is us, but of course it's not quite that simple because there's often also the funding measures, government bonds. Like it's a complicated picture these days. But yeah, how your money gets spent and the money being taken out of your pocket to be spent, I should say, is definitely a important thing to keep in mind on this. RJ also saying cops busting drunks on a holiday weekend. Shocking. Glad to hear it though. I mean, yeah, I'll take it. If anyone decides, not that if anyone's deciding to go out and drive drunk, you know what? I hope you get everything that comes to you. You don't hurt anyone in the process. But let's just say, as a gentle reminder, that making a plan before you go out and drink and then potentially be driving, yeah, drunk driving is a 100% preventable crime. Do not do it. Just gentle reminders there. Don't end up in jail. Anyway, get back to the phone lines right now. 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM is the number to call. We do have Barbara on the west side here with us right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to piggyback on what Lupa just said. I sent an email to all the commissioners and the county judge with specific questions. Not only did I ask dollar amounts like Lupa was just talking about, but I asked about projections. How did they project the cost of this project that they're anticipating in light of the supply chain, the cost of materials? How did they arrive at any figures that we can trust? And to be honest, I received 3 responses. I was amazed and I was pleased, but none of them answered the questions that I asked, and I asked more questions of that. So I guess it's going to take an open records request to get answers to what I want to know, and I think that the community has the right to know. And the next thing is, I want to talk about the Remain in Mexico policy that the Supreme Court sent down. I'm confused, and I think a lot of people are confused as they were with Roe versus Wade. The Supreme Court said that the case is going to be sent down to the lower court, to the district court, for additional proceedings. Now, while the block on Biden's, and I'm reading here, attempt to end the policy currently remains in place. So I'm thinking, okay, Biden has an opportunity to do the right thing here. Since I'm assuming he knows what the president of Mexico said. And after these 53 deaths in Laredo, there's been an additional 8. So we have an additional 581 deaths since October, because the Border Patrol just put out the number 518 plus the 53, plus now there's an additional 8 since Monday, which is really sad. I'm hoping that somebody in the Biden administration will think about this twice before they just lift it like they're attempting to do the Title 42. So those are the things that I want to talk about. And the EPA, I think it was a great decision regarding the EPA, that they can't just arbitrarily make up all these rules and regulations. That is something that has to go back down to Congress, that Congress didn't just open their arms and say, make all the rules that you want. One size fits all does not work. So I was pleased with that ruling today on the EPA. So those are my comments today on those three subject matters.
Yeah, and there's been, if anyone thinks that we've been touching on all of the Supreme Court cases that have been coming out, I am very sorry to tell you that, that would be an entire own show on its own, and there are several out there that I'm aware of, but there's even been more just affecting Texas going on right now, so give it a spare Google if you can, but there's been another one even affecting prior military service members of Texas state troopers and state agencies in general, particularly law enforcement ones that are going to be having some effects there on reasonable accommodation and other things. So there's a lot more than even we've been able to touch on these Supreme Court decisions. It's been a incredibly busy and consequential term that they've had just closing up now.
It has, and I think they've made some really good decisions. So I was pleased with the decisions they just now made before they go on vacation.
Yeah, well, and then wait for the next one, though they are starting to accept some other cases. So we'll keep an eye on it and bring up as much as we can and fit into shows as affects us in the Borderland. And, of course, for Friday, you know how we do.
Right. Thank you, Andrew.
That's the thing. Thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it. You have a good one. All right, that's going to take us through our next break of the hour here right now. We got more calls on the line, and we will be getting back to those here again. If you're wanting to squeeze in, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more from Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update. A federal investigation is underway following an officer-involved shooting in Far East El Paso. This happened near Joe Battle in Zaragoza at about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Multiple law enforcement agencies, including the El Paso Police, County Sheriff's Office, Constable, Homeland Security, and the FBI, were called out to the scene. Homeland Security confirmed it all stemmed from what they called an organized crime drug enforcement task force investigation. One suspect was shot and another fled the scene. The death toll now stands at 53 following the discovery of a tractor trailer in San Antonio that was smuggling migrants in sweltering heat. The tragedy marks the deadliest human smuggling incident on record in U.S. history. Identifying the victims has been a challenge for authorities since most don't have IDs on them. Officials say the migrants are from Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
I-10 eastbound at Paisano, an accident reported. A stalled vehicles blocking the right side. I-10 eastbound at Wrestler. Lee Trevino northbound at Rojas, an accident reported. Another crash reported Montwood Drive eastbound at Joe Battle. And a crash with injuries downtown Santa Fe Street just south of Paisano at 3rd Avenue. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. We continue to deal with a little bit of moisture, and that means some isolated storms in through the early evening. Overnight, we can expect partly cloudy skies and dry conditions as temperatures drop to the lower to mid 70s. Getting into our holiday weekend means we're looking at temperatures running a little closer to average in the mid 90s, with rain chances increasing every single day.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. The 4th of July deals are heating up at Lowe's. Protect your garden soil all season long with Scott's Naturescapes mulch, 3 for $10. Lowe's, home to any possibility. Valid 6/23 through 7/6 while supplies last. Selection varies by location, excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Here's to the great American settlers, the millions of you who settled for unsatisfying jobs because they pay the bills. Of course, there is something else you could do if you got something to say. Start a podcast with Spreaker from iHeart and unleash your creative freedom. Maybe even earn enough money to one day tell your old boss, hey, I'm no settler, I'm an explorer. Spreaker.com, Spreaker. Hustle on over today.
If you're 45 or older, this message could save your life. Health experts now recommend starting regular colorectal cancer screening at age 45. Colorectal cancer is the leading cause of cancer death, but it's preventable through regular screening. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. You've got the guts to prevent colorectal cancer. Talk to your doctor about your options and visit cdc.gov/screenforlife for For more
If
information,
you're a valued customer, you deserve a simple gesture of appreciation from your credit card company. And that's why Discover matches all of the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply. This report is sponsored by Discover.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, where you can also leave those talkback messages using the red mic, or over on our social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv. Find us either under Andrew J. Polk or Talk El Paso on those. And a lot of comments coming in there. I guess Twitter's technically more of a direct message kind of thing, but hey, if it works for you, we'll respond to it. We've gotten a few over there in those ways, though. Certainly understand the allure of the phone call. Getting your voice out there, well, kind of what we do here on radio. So whatever works best for you, we're out there and available. So there's never going to be a test on where exactly are we up, but just keep it in mind in case you need to get at us, because we want to make it available to y'all. Particularly as we're having these interesting conversations, important conversations, impacting conversations about a whole lot of things here. So let's go back to those phone lines right now. Again, that number to call if you want to squeeze in on the line, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Frankie Messia on the line with us right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
All right. Here's what I want to say. I want to augment my particular point of view yesterday relative to this whole property tax thing that you Texans are being confronted with. Now, where I didn't answer this particularly exactly, I don't have a dog in this fight directly, but indirectly I do. Because if you Texans go out and vote stupidly and property taxes go up, that means El Paso Electric, which I have to get from El Paso to run my electric, is possibly going to increase, which means more money out of me, and which means I could be suffering and sweltering in my house. And I know all of you out there, Kevin and Steve and Al and Barbara and bewildered, befuddled Ben, they don't care. They want me to suffer. And this is the point I don't like. You Texans need to get squared away and figure out the right thing to go so you don't screw over me. That's what I want to say.
Okay, I think I get your point there. Of course, yeah, cross state utilities being significant here. I mean, the rate cases that happen in Texas, I guess I don't have a clear idea because I've never had it put to me in such a way if what we're looking at rate cases in Texas essentially would affect those in New Mexico. I know that there are differences in when it comes to things like solar panel implementation. New Mexico has very different sets of laws in the books than Texas does, generally more of them, that allow for there to be different ways that you're able to do it as an individual and still be then using the utility power. But I don't really know about it in terms of the rate case. That's something I'll have to look into. That's an interesting idea there. But I mean, I guess the property taxes aren't so much a contribution to that. If anything, you're more about, again, when the utility itself decides to raise the rate. So I guess you got a point there again about the utility, but not, I think it's not quite related to the actual then property taxes as much as I and many others have reason to gripe about those.
Well, let's tell you something. Worst comes to worst. If it happens, bad news, I don't care how it is. I'm going to go to Barbara's house and take every single one of her ice cubes. What do you think of that, Barbara? That's what I want to say.
I am sure she will have an opinion in here, and maybe work better if you ask nicely. So thank you for the point in the call.
We'll see, Andrew.
Do appreciate it. Yeah, ice is important around here, and yeah, I'll give you a cup of ice if you ask me. If you break into the house, you might be given something else. Just saying here. Back to the phone lines right now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much. And very informative interview with Justin Underwood.
Yeah, there's been just kind of like this buildup of legal questions. And one of the things that just made it come to light for me and really made me think like, okay, we need to talk about this, was that idea of stealing gas will get you cheaper gas prices. Because sure, like any reasonable person, I would assume, would be like, okay, that probably doesn't work that way. But there's a whole lot of unreasonable people out there. So I figured it was a good idea to get into it.
Yes. Well, I know both he and his partner. Both he and Derek are very fine individuals and very fine attorneys.
I've had some, work on some of their cases that they have handled, and you can run into him at the courthouse for years here. So he's an interesting one to talk to when it comes to, we had him on previously when there were some of those changes going on, and gosh, we want to go back. Was that a couple years ago at this point? Man, time flies too much. Wendor was talking about the restrictions or lack thereof, what the state wasn't doing, wasn't doing in the midst of COVID. Yeah, that was another real big legal question moment.
Yes. Yeah. Well, he did come from the district attorney's office under the prior administration. But anyway, what I did want to mention is of a particular concern to me, and it should be concerning to everybody else, the number of online threats in social media against Justice Thomas. I find that appalling. It's also very illegal.
Yep, that was, again, one of the finer points I wanted to get to, because there's a whole lot of just broadly misconceptions about how the law works online. Because the idea that, you can get away with whatever you want to, it's just the internet. All the pictures are public domain because it's the internet. And that's like the mild side of the possible consequences. But yeah, once you start threatening, and I mean, the graphic stuff that I've seen come in for some people, it gets a little nuts. And to think that that's just, it's the internet, so it doesn't matter, is not at all accurate.
Yes, that is correct. Well, I did want to respond to Frankie out in Mesilla. Well, if he's worried about his electric rates going up, well, he needs to quit voting for people like Biden, whose energy policies are definitely going to cause electricity to go up, because one of the major uses for natural gas is generation of electricity.
Oh, absolutely. We've got that Newman 6 turbine that is now active directly in El Paso County with El Paso Electric. I'll just say this. We're decently well positioned here in this area. Both we have major refining plants, and we have a lot of those pipelines that come straight through this area, often for export. So I guess I have less concerns about it here than I would other places, but we start reaching levels of lack of supply in general, we could certainly be affected by it here.
True. Well, hey, Frankie, I'll give him all the ice cubes he wants, man. You know, he can come over to my house and enjoy a nice Dr. Pepper or something.
Absolutely. Again, a lot more flies with honey than something else. Anyway, the point is that ask nicely. People in El Paso tend to be pretty generous when you're not screaming about it. As Barbara seems a little bit confused about. Yes, Frankie was saying that if he has issues with his power, he's going to come and take all your ice cubes. So forewarned, forearmed in this case, I do suppose.
One other thing I was reading today, Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez is upset because she finds it hard to live on $175,000 a year annual salary.
Yeah, and some other posts that have been coming by me is concern about, or consternation, I guess would be a better way to put it, with the Biden administration and the potential second term of it, or even the run for such. So, let's just say there's been some strange names coming up as presidential contenders, Howard Stern among one of them, and that's been another level of debate and discussion going on here. So I expect that'll keep coming up here for a little while longer.
Yeah, well, if you find it hard to live in Washington like that, go move to Montgomery County, Maryland, and trade in your Tesla like she has for a Nissan Leaf. It'd be a lot more economical. Anyway, I turn the mic back over to you, Andrew.
No, sure thing. Thanks for the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Take care.
I mean, yeah, geez. Well, I guess we're already getting into Free for All Friday territory here, but I tell you what, we're going to take that next break, finish out the show and the hour here with you. I'll tell you what we got coming up for you on the show, and again, those brief, better programming reminders here. So all of that and more to come here after the break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I never figured we'd get into such a debate about ICE, but hey, that's what happens when you have a live local radio show with live calls. Oh boy. Anyway, more after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On Gateway Boulevard, eastbound at Airway, a vehicle's blocking the right lane. Stay to the left. I-10 eastbound at Wrestler, a stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. On Loop 375 southbound at Iron Medics, right lane is blocked there by a vehicle. And a crash with injuries downtown Santa Fe, just south of Paisano Drive at 3rd Avenue. Take South Campbell instead. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Discover. If you're a valued customer, you deserve a simple gesture of appreciation from your credit card company. And that's why Discover matches all of the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
New on Curiosity Stream.
From time to time, we have collisions between asteroids and the Earth.
We track them. We study them. We hope the big one never comes. Don't look up. It's Asteroid Rush. And alligators. They rarely get sick. They even outlasted the dinosaurs. Could they hold the secret to human longevity?
Their blood could have antibacterial applications.
Wade into the investigation on immortal alligators. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
Maybe you've had to put off a health appointment or two during the COVID-19 pandemic. But if you're 45 or older, there's one test you shouldn't put off any longer. That's your regular screening for colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is the leading cancer killer, but can be prevented with regular screenings starting at age 45. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. It takes guts to put your health first. Ask your doctor about your options today and visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply. Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text EQUAL to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text EQUAL to 321-321. That's EQUAL to 321-321.
My mom and dad are the best. Ever since they called the early childhood program, I'm doing so much better, and mom and dad don't worry or stress as much as they used to. They seem a bazillion times happier, and all services are free.
Parenting isn't easy, so we signed up for the free early childhood program at the El Paso Center for Children. They taught us how to deal with COVID-19 stress and be better parents. Lots of other free services are available. Call 915-500-4105. That's 500-4105.
M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. We've covered a lot of territory today, but there's always more than we can ever really hope to get to. If we had a multi-hour show, it could be half the day, and we still wouldn't get to all of it. No, I do not want to be 24 hours, so do not mistake me on that. But just For example, we were talking about a few of the Supreme Court decisions that have even come out today or even just across this week. And there is still more to even be done here because this wasn't even necessarily a full opinion and decision. But of course, there was the more recent Supreme Court case regarding the Second Amendment and essentially removing any of the shall issue, the may issue states rather, and making them reevaluate their policies when it comes to concealed carry firearms in public, etc. There's actually been more significant with that, and it's been, you may not have seen it totally in headlines today, but more analysis coming out even as we get into the midst of this show here, that essentially the Supreme Court, and again, not a full opinion, but has remanded back to a lower court in the light of their new decision, Bruin, and what it is, saying that they've essentially said that courts, lower courts, particularly the Ninth Circuit Court out of California, must reconsider their motions and their actions on some of these, particularly capacity bans and specific weapon bans. Even as there are some new laws being considered by many states, this action has the potential to even upend those efforts because, among other things, there are a lot of policies that are, well, already they're going to be reevaluated as it was, but now specifically telling them for even on things outside of this, they must be reevaluated in the light of that new decision. So places like California, Maryland, with the Ninth and Fourth Circuit courts, respectively. So, yeah, it is significant. So that's why we pay, well, a decent amount of attention to the court itself, but there's a whole lot more information to be coming out about that. So that's just one of those examples of things I keep my eyes on, and there will be a whole lot more talk about. So even if you thought that the whole Second Amendment debate was settled for now, there's even more to come when it comes to other challenges to state laws here. Some organizations such as a National Foundation for Gun Rights and others talking about these orders. So there's a whole lot more, and we'll talk about all of these. So just as a reminder, we are going to be talking more about these issues because, well, tomorrow, Free for All Friday will be on deck for us. So even if we did, you feel we missed it, you'll have your chance to, because we'll be taking your comments and calls throughout both hours of the show and really getting into it as we often do. Just remember, if you're going to be calling in, keep it clean. Otherwise, you will be removed from the line, but just a whole lot more. So keep that in mind. And also, just last call I'm going to put out because I want to talk about it tomorrow. If anyone's got a parade that they're still looking for people getting involved with, because we are coming up on that July 4th holiday, feel free to let me know, and I'll be happy to put the word out there for people to go out and enjoy it, because we are in one of those nice, rare times when the July 4th holiday, and not just the observed one, happens on, making it into a nice 3-day weekend. I mean, for most people, I'll be working most of it, celebrating my freedom that way, I suppose, here. And just as a spare note on that, we often don't cross-pollinate the shows here and talk about the different ones, but just want to mention that for this coming edition of the El Paso History Radio Show, airing Saturday 10 to noon here on News Radio 690 KTSM, we're going to be talking about the July 4th holiday as it relates to and contributions from the history of this region, because it wasn't just the fight happening on, well, we now consider the East Coast, or the 13 original colonies, better way to put it. There was global conflict going on and global support in a lot of ways, because there was more than just our territorial interest at stake there. A lot of colonial powers were also very interested in getting into that fight here, including Spain, which had that slight contribution to our area, and even literal contributions from people in our area at those points in time to that conflict and the cause of American liberty. So we will be delving into that here, and people just keep going off on ice over there on the social media. I think one of the better questions coming up is the idea of what is going to be, well, the situation when it comes to power and the ability to have so, and the policies going in there, and just as showing the generosity of the El Paso general public. Ion Grimm suggesting, Barbara, I'll go with you to deliver some ice to Frankie. Wouldn't want him just showing up at your house. Just let me know when, with ice cube emojis there. Of course, energy policy is coming into this in a bit. I still remain bullish on El Paso in general, because I think we are well positioned in a lot of ways, even with some issues coming up with potentially production, supply chains, and all of that. We've got things that we are going to need to continue talking about in this region. And that's some things that we're going to continue to focus on here, including interesting intersections of immigration policy and economic development in our region, something we're working on for you all, as well as overviews of this session of the Supreme Court beyond the individual case decisions, which are going to have impacts for years. How did this session stack up compared to previous ones? What does this foretell for the future? Concepts such as stare decisis, the idea that the decision stands precedent, as it is often more commonly put. All those things are things we're working on for you for the show here today. So just want to remind everyone, particularly as we've talked about some road issues and road rage and things like that, remember, just as my reminder, as we're getting into the holiday, among other things, that again, the patrols will start tomorrow, so you can be sure that things will start getting maybe a little bit weird on the roads. Just take your time, be careful, watch out for yourself and those out there. Defensive driving is a good way to be, but also just remember in general to be kind. We have a very important holiday that we will be celebrating, one that I will certainly be celebrating when I am allowed to or have the time to around work hours. But seriously, the reason that we still have the country that we do is because we have enough people out there willing to, in many circumstances, not let petty differences separate them, but come together for common purposes and goods and the continuation of this country. Yes, there have been many issues along our history, but I still strongly believe in the words of a more perfect union as something to be striven for every day. And that does not necessarily just mean grand efforts. Again, we'll be doing a lot of analysis of the Supreme Court and those issues there, but everyday actions that people take are a significant contribution to it. It may not even feel like it, seem like it, or seem to matter in the long run, but absolutely it does. We were talking a little bit earlier about how El Paso has been at various points ranked one of the safest cities in the country, if not the safest. And again, the credit to the everyday El Pasoans who make the right decisions when they can, and more often than not, in the vast majority, is the reason we have had that, and I think will continue to do so. So that's going to about do it for us on the show here today. I want to thank everyone who did tune in, call in, chime in, comment. All of the ways that you all do it really make this discussion a worthwhile, worthy, and something that we'll continue doing as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. So get your grilling plans in place. Make sure to gather with friends, family, however you decide. And we'll see you all again tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Free for All Friday will be on deck. Just again, remember to keep it clean because I don't want to have to dump the calls, but I will if I have to. We're going to keep the show going. That's one of my main missions. So there, to everyone who chimed in, remember, of course, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Checking your El Paso freeway's got a vehicle that's blocking the right lane on Gateway Boulevard, eastbound at Airways, so stay to the left there. I-10 eastbound at Wrestler, a stalled vehicle is blocking the right shoulder. Loop 375 southbound at Iron Medics, a car is in the right lane, blocking the right side, stay to the left. Alameda Avenue, eastbound at Delta, an injury accident with police and paramedics on the scene. Take Trowbridge as your alternate. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with a new way to enjoy our beautiful planet. Energy consumption is a primary contributor to a changing climate, producing around 27% of greenhouse gases in the United States. Save money and energy at home by turning off your computer completely before you go to bed. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Being aware of the world around you is important.
When it comes to news, yes, I am.
So we're feeding your need to know 24/7 at the top and bottom of the hour.
I like to know what's going on in my locality, abroad.
Events of the world.
Fairly so. Yeah, I'm pretty connected.
Or down the street.
For the most part, I know what's going on.
You know, I need to be aware and what to look out for, and I'm real cautious, so yeah, I need to have that.
It's what we do. News Radio 690 KTSM.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.